Hey everybody, I'm back doing another live. I got to start scheduling these and start making these like a thing. I'm thinking Saturdays will probably be our day moving forward. It's the time I have the most availability. Anyway, I just wanted to touch on some of the issues that have been going on over the past few weeks or so. I want to give a shout out to those who wrote in the chat at the last live last week. I'm so sorry I could not read your chats that came through. Like, I'm still new to this whole thing, trying to figure out how this all works out. I'm really bad at technology, but I couldn't read them because I couldn't see. But since then, I'm glad I have my glasses on. But since then, I actually got LASIK over the past week, the laser eye surgery. So like, I was blind, but now I can see. LASIK is like a whole freaking miracle. I definitely recommend it. If you're a person like me who's been wearing glasses for 30 years, it's actually really, really cool that I can literally see now. I know a lot of people are afraid of the whole thing and are saying that, it's a laser in your eye and the whole thing. I get it, but it's totally a freaking miracle. It's been, I did last Friday, so it's been like 8 days now, and my vision is literally perfect. I went for the checkup on Monday, and they said that my vision's actually 2015, which is like even better than 2020. So that's like amazing. I'm going to do a separate video on LASIK and my LASIK experience, and also how to get LASIK for cheap, because that's important. Because LASIK is kind of expensive, but I was able to get a really good deal on it, and I will talk about that coming forward. So, how you guys liking Biden's America? You liking your high-ass gas prices? It's really, really awesome right now. I'm thinking a lot of us, and a lot of people voted for Biden, would probably do anything for $1.79 gas and a couple of mean tweets at this point, because that's why we voted for Biden, right? Because we wanted the craziness to stop. We wanted the tweets to stop, and now look where we are. We're Venezuela light at this point. The gas thing is definitely affecting me. I'm down here in Southern Virginia. I don't watch much of the news every day. I watch Tucker. I have emails. I watch Tucker every night. I have emails. So I keep up with everything going on. But I really didn't know about this gas thing as it was happening. And I remember being at the gas station last week, and I'm like, why is there like a line at the gas station? Like, what are they giving something away? And then when I turn the radio, come to find out this whole gas situation with the Colonial pipeline and all this other stuff is coming. And it's crazy how we went from being an energy independent country under Trump to now being crippled, half the country being crippled by this, cyber attack. And what was even crazier about it was to look at the press conference that Biden had, Jen Psaki or whatever, his public, person, whatever, his, for the White House. And she's talking about how with this whole thing being a Russian hack and, Russia's the enemy and they're pushing Russia. People are asking, okay, what are you going to do about Russia? And they're like, well, it's, as far as Colonial is concerned, the cyber attack is very much, we don't get involved in those type of matters. And it's like, y'all are trying to start war with Russia. Y'all are saying Russia's the enemy. Russia is involved with, taking our democracy or whatever with the voting. But then when it comes down to actually doing something about the colonial thing, something that literally, shut down a good portion of our country, all of a sudden we don't want to be involved in that. You federalize everything else in the world, but when it comes down to, Russian hackers actually doing this whole colonial thing and shutting down a part of our country, now we don't want to be involved. We don't want to federalize that all of a sudden. I just think that's so weird. Even with paying ransoms, but if you look back at the Obama administration, they paid out, a couple billion out to Iran in a plane in the middle of the night with unmarked cash. Democrats believe in paying ransoms. Clearly, they don't believe in actually confronting the real problem. So it's crazy. I just can't believe how far we've fallen and how quickly, and how much the media is not even pushing back on any of this. There was a Man on the Street report. I was watching Wendy Williams yesterday, and there was a Man on the Street report where they were talking about the lady in the LA News. She interviewed people that were at the gas station, talking about the whole gas thing or whatever. And, there was one guy who was like, very concerned about this and the prices, because, in LA, out in California, it's like $4 and change a gallon for gas, which is crazy. I'm having a fit at $2.85 here, $2.99 here, but $4, that's ridiculous. And the other person they ended up interviewing was Mark Cooper, for who, if you don't know Mark Cooper is a comedian. He was the star of the 90s sitcom Hanging Mr. Cooper. And he also was a host of Soros-funded Apollo back in the 90s. He's a celebrity, but she didn't know who he was. And the funny thing that Wendy was talking about was the fact that the lady didn't know who Mark Curry was. But the funny thing about Mark Curry's interview, as opposed to the other interview, was that he was saying, well, it's not a big deal, and don't go this far to save this 4 cents, 5 cents, whatever. But sir, you're like a whole celebrity, so you are not affected by the gas prices as much as a normal regular person who needs to drive their car. I think about all the the cab drivers, the Uber drivers, especially, because a lot of them are are not making the money they're supposed to be making, and they're making below minimum wage in some markets. Your Uber Eats drivers, all these people affect the people on the quote unquote lower rungs of society. So when people say, oh well, Biden said that he's going to put taxes on the rich, he's putting taxes on you right now. This is what happens when pipelines are shut down. The people end up paying these taxes. That's the point that people don't understand. Just because it's not formally put as a tax from the government on your, on your W-2 form or your 1040 or whatever, you're still paying taxes by paying more money for stuff that was less money. And everything has been going up. And it's not just me saying this. It's not just even Republicans and people that are against Biden saying this. You have a lot of people, even in the Black YouTube sphere, a lot of people who I watch and follow, like Lovely T, who I think is great. I love the fact that she's so balanced in her view on things. She's even had videos talking about how the prices of things, whether it be homes and lumber and bread and gas, all this stuff is going up. So for you that think that, oh, Biden's not going to tax me, you're already being taxed by these policies. And when we shut down oil pipelines, this is what you expect to happen. I think about when I was a kid and there was the Gulf War. And this was maybe like 91, 92. I had been like 8 years old. I remember watching the bombs and the guns and everything. This is back when, Bush 1 was president. Bush daddy was president, the first Bush. And I remember asking my mother, like, what's this war thing about? Why are we at war? And she said that it was over oil. And, remember, and if you were, alive back in the 90s, that was the whole narrative. No more blood for oil. All the Republicans want is oil, oil, oil. They'll fight for the oil, killing for the oil. And finally, under Donald Trump, we got to a place where America was energy independent, something which I felt was totally not celebrated and totally just brushed under the rug for whatever reason. I don't know why. And it was an amazing thing, an amazing feat, which if under any other president would have been celebrated. But of course, under Trump, we're going to sweep that under the rug and concentrate on, all this other stupid made up controversy they make every week. And we're not noticing how wonderful that is. We were actually at a place where we were independent of dealing with, these crazies in the Middle East. And now we're not. Now we're crippled by a cyber attack. And we have a Biden administration saying that, oh, yeah, they should pay the ransom. We shouldn't be involved. But I thought Russia was the enemy and they were subverting our democracy. Which one is it? And then with China, it's like China's no big deal, but everything that Russia is horrible, mean, horrible, horrible Russia. Yet we're not going to do anything to this company. We're not going to do anything to these people that have hacked, into our country, into this big, company that we should be standing behind that's, crippled our country. And it only makes me think about what else can happen. What's going to happen if, God forbid, there's an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, which is something that can come, from the air. And this is something that North Korea was talking about that can, totally just stop our whole electric grid. I don't understand, what are the protections? How are they protecting our country? It's all this wokey bullshit, all this racial bullshit, but it's like they're not protecting our country. This is amazing to me that we're even allowing this to happen. It's just amazing how foolish we are as a country and as Americans that we just let these people just do whatever the hell they want. Things that just make absolutely no sense whatsoever. So yeah, that's crazy. So for those of you who are chatting, thank you so much for those. I can actually see the chats now. So if you are putting chats in, I can see you, thank God, because I've got LASIK and I can see now. So the other big thing that happened, over the past week with this, the N-word killing. So there was this story, I'm not sure where exactly it was, but there was a black guy who basically punched out this older white man for calling him a nigger. And I'm going to say the word because honestly, I just feel like we give too much power to this word to keep calling it the N-word and having to skip around. Like it's really stupid at this point. He called him a nigger, and basically when he said that, the black guy punched the white guy out, and the white guy gets hit his head on the ground, the older man, and he's dead. And this black guy is now going to jail. And it's like, the point of this was what exactly? And what really is disheartening about this whole thing is that you saw the black Twitter Rokawati, the blue checks, the sassy blue checks, saying all this stuff about like, oh, F around and find out. And, like that, egging this on, like this was a good thing. And it's like, this young man's life is now ruined over something that is so stupid. Some old white man called you a nigger. So the fuck what? Like, okay, and like, why is that affecting you? I just don't understand why we're allowing a word to cause someone to ruin their whole life, where if a white person utters this word to you, you now as a black person have to like go full on, kamikaze and ruin your life. It reminds me of a story, and I actually tweeted about this. Let me read my tweet, and by the way, follow me on Twitter, because I'm rebuilding my Twitter. My Twitter, got shut down, and now it's back, and it's a mess. Trying to rebuild this whole thing. I really don't have the patience, but if you like to follow. This is my my tweet. Let me go to my timeline real quick. Okay. I said, and this was a response to someone else who was talking about this whole N-word thing. This is someone who was a conservative, who was a black conservative, who was just taking this way too far and trying to almost like I guess kind of side with hitting this guy, thinking that hitting this guy was like okay somehow. And I responded like this. I said, y'all niggas give that word way too much power. When I was an Uber driver in 2016, a white guy called me a nigger. I laughed at his dumbass as he sat there looking stupid. Oh, was that supposed to upset me? When you act a fool, you become what you were called. Exactly right. Just to expound on that story, I was an Uber driver in Philadelphia back in 2016, and there was this white guy. I got into an argument with him over like the radio, something stupid. I actually forgot what it was. And basically, I had won the argument, and we got to his destination because I told him that he didn't like the ride. He could always just get out. I'm very Martin Lawrence on that. You don't like you can get out. I'm all about kicking folk out. And he didn't do that. So we got to the destination, and right as we're pulling up, he calls me like nigger. He's like nigger or whatever. And it's so hilarious because like even in that moment, I'd never been called a nigger by a white person before in my entire life. And in that moment, I didn't even feel like the flight or flight feeling pitting your stomach where you're like angry or like you want to react. I just literally busted out laughing because it's like in that moment I realized like you're doing this to like upset me because clearly I won the argument, clearly. And there's nothing you can do to get back at me. So you felt like this was you calling me a nigger was like supposed to make me upset and make you it's like no, like this is like you're a fucking idiot. I literally laughed this shit off, and it's funny because the guy was drunk and he had his friend with him, was another white guy or whatever. So when his friend did it, he was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't mean that. Like, please don't report her." So the guy had to give me like a $20 tip, and he's like, "Oh my God," and I went about my day. I still reported their ass, of course I did, but just because whatever. Like hey, fuck it, I reported them, and I probably kicked off Uber, and good for them for doing that. But it's like, I'm not going to fall into the trap of you saying a word to me and a word is supposed to now like make me act a certain way because a white person said this word. So now a white person calls me a nigga. I'm supposed to just throw my whole fucking life away and I got to fight this person at any cost. Like, what sense does that make? At the end of the day, when you look at the exchange between this black guy who punched the white guy and the white guy who's now dead, it's like, who really won in the end? Okay, the white guy's dead. He was old. He's probably going to die anyway. If a hit on the ground was going to kill him, he probably had many days left anyway. So now he's a dead racist, and you're now a black man whose life is ruined with a record and in jail and whatever that all may comes along with that. So it's like, what was the point? And I'm sure that if someone were to come to this particular black guy and ask him whether it was worth it, I'm sure he'd say that it wasn't. And what's crazy is that you have these, the black woke Trinity, like Teray, those other people, these other idiots, egging this shit on. It's like none of these niggas would bust a grape in a fruit fight. Like y'all was sitting here, black Twitter verified, sitting up in your overpriced apartment in Brooklyn or in Berkeley or somewhere, looking down upon the rest of the masses. Yet you're egging on something that does not affect your regular life. This man's life is now ruined now, and y'all are thinking this is cute because this is like some weird political narrative or whatever weird thing you have against white people. Mind you, all these black Twitterati are all paid by, endorsed by, and are sponsored by liberal white people who really run the show at the end of the fucking day, if we're going to be honest. So why are we pushing this on this young man? It would have been nice for someone who was of the Black wokey persuasion with a platform to be able to say, hey, you know what? We're not into racism. We're not here for, white people. I mean, for white people calling Black people the N-word. Like, no one's here for that. No one thinks that's good. However, don't ruin your life by trying to fight some random ass white person. For what? Like, what is the point of that? Let a racist idiot be a racist idiot and move on about your day. You're way more important than that. You are, because when you react to that, you literally become the word they just called you. You become the nigga they called you. Because what is a nigga? Someone who's dumb, who's ignorant. Like, that's what you become. Because that was a dumb move. You doing that, it's foolish. It was very foolish. And now, this man is dead. This Black man's life is ruined. I just don't understand how we're pushing this, and how this, like, people think this is cute, and how even you have some Black conservatives, like, quote unquote, trying to like act like this is somehow okay. Like, it's a fucking word. You called me a nigger, so the fuck what? Call him a honky, call him a whatever. Like, go back and forth. Like, we Black folk, we invented the dozens, we invented the yo mama jokes. We have more jokes than a little bit. So I don't understand why you couldn't just go back. And putting myself in that situation, if I went to a restaurant and a white man called me a nigga, I would say, shut the fuck up. Shut your white ass the fuck up. Or shut the fuck up, nigga. I call him nigga back. Like, I don't understand how murder is put into this, or how physical altercation is okay. I mean, growing up in the hood, there are many Black people that made fun of Chinese people. And I've seen that, all my life. I'm from East New York, Brooklyn. And, Chinese restaurant people go in and they get mad, Chinese people, whatever, they want to call them, ching chong or whatever. So imagine if a Black person did that to, a Chinese person, an older Black person did that or whatever, and a Chinese guy, karate chops him, and then he dies. Are we going to feel the same way? Are we going to feel like, that's okay? Like, we learned this as children. Someone saying something to you does not make it okay for you to hit them. We learned this when we were 5 in kindergarten. Like, this is not okay. We're grown-ups here. We're a much higher evolved species than this. I mean, this is animalistic and stupid behavior. We're not monkeys, we're humans. Like, we are evolved. This is dumb. If someone says something to you that you don't like, say something back or keep it the fuck moving. I don't understand why you feel like there's been a physical altercation behind this particular word. It's just a fucking word. It reminds me of the conversation that Jay-Z had with Oprah years ago, and they disagreed. And I actually agree with Jay-Z on this about, taking the N-word back. I mean, it's in so many rap songs and whatever that nigga doesn't even mean the same thing that it did however many years ago. And however many years ago, whatever it did mean, and the meaning of nigger is something that we are now, this is learned behavior. As I always say, a baby being born right now has no idea what any of this shit means. All this is stuff that we have taught. So it's like we as Black people especially are now like, we're inheriting and passing down racial trauma from generation, which doesn't even apply to this time. This is absolutely crazy that people think that it's okay to react or wild out and kill someone because they called you a nigger. Like, that is the dumbest shit in the whole entire fucking world, especially when we put nigger in every rap song. How many #1 Billboard hits? You look at what's at WAP and all these songs, #1 song, Jay-Z song, Cardi B song, Nicki Minaj songs, all these songs have nigger in it. So it's like, how can we really be this upset about this word, yet we put it in all of our mainstays in, quote unquote, Black culture, because rap music is literally like, at this point, it's a #1 Black culture export to the entire world, and niggas all in it. So how can we be this upset over this word? It makes no sense whatsoever. This is absolutely crazy. Like, we can't continue. Like, this can't go on. And I just feel really sad that, the woke powers that be are really pushing this, because this only gives them talking points, and it gives them, sassy things to put on Twitter, in their glass towers in Brooklyn. But for downtown Brooklyn, I should say, or Williamsburg, but for regular Black folks in, Brownsville, East New York, whatever hood you're in, this is going to have a real effect on people. And people are taking this to be like, this is okay. And there's a GoFundMe for the guy's legal defense fund. I mean, y'all can put all the money in there you want. He's going to jail. So, he can have, they can, raise Johnny Cochran from the dead. Oh, he's going to jail because, that is manslaughter, like it or not. So it's no point. It takes me back to the situation even here, where there was a statue that they were taking down, a Confederate statue out in Portsmouth, and the statue fell on this guy's head, and like he got into a coma Come to find out, this guy is like married with like 3 kids. So it's like you risked your life over a stupid fucking statue that you did not even know existed till last week. Fell on your head, you're in a coma, you have a whole wife, 3 black children that you are, supposed to be the patriarch and the father of, yet you put that all on the line to protest at a stupid fucking statue. So I guess white supremacy won that day because you're in a coma or whatever. I think he recovered or whatever, thank God. But it's just like, we have to start thinking about the bigger picture. Like getting all emotional and crazy over whatever racial animus that's being put out there for, by our political overlords, it's really stupid, because the people who are putting all this shit out, the black woke Twitterati and whatever, they're not affected by this. Regular, everyday black people are. We're the ones that are getting our heads, hit with statues and going into comas and, committing manslaughter and ruining our lives and going to jail and shit. Not them. Never is them, is it? So speaking of that, and speaking of black people now and the whole, woke Twitterati, there's also a very interesting story involving Colin Kaepernick. And this is something that a lot of people don't talk about. Every black person is not on the bandwagon for abolishing the police. I mean, you'd think, because you see on, black media and, on the mainstream media in general, that they think all black people are just gung-ho. The only black people that are not for this are like, stone cold Republicans and like Trump supporters and stuff like that. And, that's not true. So there's actually a big backlash right now, if you haven't heard, over Colin Kaepernick has some new book that he's putting out about, abolishing the police or whatever and defunding the police and this whole thing. And on the cover of the book, there is this illustration of, a black woman, with her, nappy hair, 4C hair, black woman, protesting like, yeah. And it's like, there are a penchant of black women, in a lot of black women actually whose YouTubes that I follow a very diverse spectrum of YouTube. I have right-leaning people, left-leaning people, a lot of like, I guess black consciousness people and people like that. I keep myself open. I'm not just all Trump people, all, Republicans. I keep myself open to different points of view. And there's a channel by this girl by the name of Chrissy. She's very much about media representation of dark-skinned black women. And there's this other girl, Milan, who actually made a petition. And they made a petition to Colin Kaepernick saying that, look, like we as black women are, we are feminine, we are beautiful, we want to be protected. We are not into abolishing the police, because if we abolish police, who is going to protect us? And they're wondering, why are they, since they want to abolish police so bad, and this seems to be more of like, a black male thing than a black woman thing, why are there not, black men in jail on the cover? Why are there not, black, especially being personal with Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick, as we know, was not black. He's not. He was not raised with black people. He was not. He's not married to a black woman. He is not. So, these black women are saying, why are you not putting your, light-skinned, ambiguous, half Arabic, whatever woman on the cover? Why are you not putting yourself on the cover? Why are we the ones that are being masculinized and used as, the face of this movement, when no one asked us whether we actually wanted to abolish the police? Like, y'all are saying that, but no one's asking black women that. And it's a very interesting conversation. And Milan, who's another YouTuber, she's a big black female YouTuber. She actually put out a petition, asking Colin Kaepernick or demanding that Colin Kaepernick change the cover of the book. They're like, we're not the face of this. Black women are not out here saying we want to abolish the police. This is some wokey white liberal foolishness. Black women are living in the hood, are living in real life every day. And if something happens to them, and let's be honest, if we're talking about black women, black trans women, most of the violence that happens against black women and even black trans women, there's the whole protect black trans women, Elizabeth Warren thing, are at the hands of black men. Let's be real. And when these black men, not all black men, obviously, if you're not a black man who hits black women, this is not to you. So no, hit dogs holler. But what's going to happen when, God forbid, a black man does something to one of these black women? Who are they going to call? Colin Kaepernick? No, they're going to call the police. So black women are not for the abolishing of police. And I'm so glad that these black women are actually coming out and saying that, because it's like, hello, like, why are they using our image for this? Because this is not what all black women are about. So I just find that really interesting. So for those who think that, all black people are for the foolishness and all black people want to abolish police and all black people are going for, the wokey left extreme foolishness, We are not, and black women are not. I'm actually going to, because I signed a petition. I thought the petition was great. Just the troll in me anyway wants to get back at Colin Kaepernick's fool ass for, just playing black people and, scamming black people out of millions of dollars, which he's done over the years, all this wokey bullshit. That's exactly what he's doing. He lives none of the life that these black people, that regular black people live. He has no relation to the lives of regular black people, yet he gets to profit off of this whole quote unquote black liberation movement, whatever this bullshit is, which is all really funded by Soros anyway. We're going to keep it real. And none of this is actually doing anything special or good or helping black people. So I'm so glad there are black women who are actually standing up to this. So I can't do it at the moment because I'm live right now. But when I finish this live, I am going to find that Paris Milan petition. And I'm going to put it in the bottom of this. I do think that more people should sign it, not just black women, but I'm a black man. I signed it because I think it's fair. I think I'm sick of Colin Kaepernick and these wokies using black people for this foolishness. Because at the end of the day, Colin Kaepernick don't have to worry about, run-ins with the police or whatever. Or Colin Kaepernick don't have to worry about, even having to call the police because he's got security. He's going to be secure. He's in his, glass tower, another one in the mansion somewhere in California, wherever the hell he lives. Who don't have to worry about, the everyday struggles black people have to go through. I mean, if something happens, who the hell are we going to call? We call the police. Abolishing the police is stupid. It's a brainchild of AOC and other, Soros paid off liberal idiots who don't live in the real fucking world. Like, no police, so then the criminal just run amok. Is that okay? How is that okay? Because of what happened to George Floyd, which is terrible. Okay, we get that. That's one person. If you take all the people, say their names. Okay, you can say their names because that's how little of them they are in comparison to the 40 million fucking black people in this country that deal with police every day. I've gotten pulled over by the police too. I'll talk about my police story. I've been arrested the whole nine. Handled it way different. I'm alive today. I hate no bullet holes. You know what I mean? And you don't have to be, yes, I'm my son, yes, all that bullshit either. I mean, I'm going to do a live with my homegirl, Naomi. She can tell you she was actually on the phone with me when I got pulled over by the police, and the police were dead wrong, and I stood strong in my shit, and I didn't waver. You don't have to be yes, a massa, and all this other bullshit with the police. If you disagree with the police, you can disagree in a civil way, because basically the police woman was saying that I swerved out of my lane. I was like, I didn't swerve out of my lane, because if I swerved out of my lane, I would have hit you. So I didn't swerve out of any lane. I don't know what you're talking about. You bugging. And I stood strong on my shit and got no ticket at the end of it. She didn't write me no ticket, nothing like that. Kept it right on the fuck moving. It was no Black Lives Matter, nothing crazy. She asked my registration. I gave her everything she asked for. Here's my stuff, blah, blah, blah. You're wrong. And I kept it the fuck moving. I'm gonna have to do something just specific on police. I have a whole bunch of different police stories. And people ask, like, does dropping the Trump card work on the police? So we'll talk about that too. It does. But I'm gonna do a separate video just talking about because I've been arrested twice in my life. I actually got taken in one time, like all the way. So we'll talk about how I was taken in. I'll do a separate video about I'll change up my shirt and talk about like the police situation or whatever. But you don't have to be on some yes a massa with the police, but you also don't have to, run away from them and hide guns either. I just feel like or reach for a knife either, or try to, run away or speed away or whatever. Like there's a lot of medium in between this. It's more than just black and white. You don't have to just be one or another with the police, because ultimately I'm one of those people that's like, the police work for me. Like I'm that guy. I'm that, excuse me, my taxes pay your salary, so I mean you just relax. So I'm that guy. So the petition, I think, is a really good thing. I'm so glad that black people are starting to see through Kaepernick. Black people are starting to finally see, and not even just black people on the right, black people on the left are finally starting to see through Black Lives Matter now, with the whole police colors and buying all these houses, all this other dumb shit they're doing, and are starting to see the real. And I love people like, Lovely T, whatever, who is not a Republican, who is not a Trump supporter, whatever. She's, I don't know who she voted for. She probably voted for Biden, I'm sure. She's from Minnesota. So she's seen the riots, everything happening in Minneapolis, on a personal level, because it's in her city. And she talks about how Black Lives Matter came, and when they came, they protested, they tear shit up, and then they leave, and then once the cameras leave, they leave. So, her name, Lovely T 2002. She has like 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Really, really good YouTube breakdowns of just things that happen. A really good perspective of somebody who's actually a black woman who is actually living in Minneapolis and sees all this stuff and has seen the protests throughout the year. But the police work for us. So I'm really glad to see these Black women standing up and are saying that, no, we are not for abolishing the police. No, we as Black women want to be feminine and soft and protected like any other race of women do. And we do not want to be the face of this foolishness. And if Black men who are criminals, a lot of them are, want to abolish the police, and y'all need to stand up and y'all be the face of abolishing the police. Y'all get out there on the front line and say they want to abolish police. Black women don't have to go with the foolishness. So I'm there for them. I'm totally 100% with that. So with that, I'm about to wrap up, you guys. Thank you so much for this live today. Follow me on Twitter at benjiirby. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, yada, yada, yada. And I'm going to try to do more videos more often, try to build this whole YouTube thing up because, Twitter sucks, but it's, I guess, a necessary evil, but it sucks. And we'll try to build this whole thing up. So thank you guys so much for spending your Saturday evening with me. And there'll be more videos to come. I'll try to do this every Saturday. I definitely am going to do that. I'm going to actually do that LASIK video right now. So I'll probably I'm going to change my shirt and do another live about LASIK, just to let you know that whole process, because it's definitely freeing for those who have been under the restriction of glasses and contacts. Like, it's so amazing to be able to see out of my own eyes. Like, you have no idea. I feel like the guy, who Jesus spit on the dirt and like put in his eyes and like he could see. Like, it's like this is a whole freaking miracle. So with that, thank you so much. God bless everybody. And I'm gonna put that link to that petition in the description box. I suggest everybody go and sign it. Let Colin Kaepernick know he's a fucking stupid asshole. Have a great day. God bless America and God bless you.